Hey guys, Smail here for another video about AI voice agents for businesses. If you've been exploring AI voice bots for your business, you should know that building the bot is just the beginning. The real challenge is about delivering a solution that is both accurate and reliable. At my agency, when we build and sell AI voice agents to businesses, testing is the only way to detect where the errors are and to ensure we deliver the most accurate solution possible. Not only should manual testing be done, but most importantly, automated testing is crucial so that we can cover a wide range of scenarios. In this video, I'm going to build an AI voice agent using RetellAI and show you a simple method that we use to automate the testing of that AI agent. You will see how we build a system where one bot talks to another bot to test it, and it sounds like this.
Hello?
What was the temperature in the city of Paris on the 15th of December 2015?
Sure, please wait a few seconds while I check it. It was 49.9 degrees.
All right, thank you. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.
You're welcome. You have a fantastic day too.
I will also show you how we test multiple inputs and compute the accuracy of your bot. And as always, you'll be able to download all the blueprints and files needed to implement this for free in my Discord server. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how AI voice agents should be automatically tested for maximum accuracy to impress your customers and grow your business. Let's dive in. Generative AI like ChatGPT, Gemini, or Cloud can do something that traditional software can't do: reasoning. But this comes at a cost, the lack of predictability and reliability. And spoiler alert from the AI engineer who has built and trained a lot of AI models from scratch, there is no such thing as an AI system that is 100% accurate. So now the question should be, okay, we can't have a 100% accurate AI system, but how can we be as close as possibly to 100% accuracy? And the answer is very simple: methodical and automated testing. Now that you start to understand why testing is important, your next question should be, testing what exactly? Actually, there are so many things we could test. We can test for latency, or different accents, or the ability of the AI to extract specific things inside the conversation. For example, emails, names of a lead, or his phone numbers. We could also test a reaction of the AI to nonsense, right? And I think the most useful type of test is testing function calls. Because in my opinion, AI voice agents that don't use function calling are not very useful, They can only answer questions by retrieving data in the prompt, which is very limited. On the other hand, AI voice bots which use function calling do interact with the Word and other systems. They can book meetings, update CRMs, send PDFs or emails. In this video, we'll do the testing of function calling to check how accurate it is. More importantly, this will be automated. This means that an AI voice agent, the tester, will call another AI voice agent, the one being tested, multiple times with different inputs each time, and will compare, the output of the second agent with the expected output. For each call, if the two outputs are the same, then we'll say the test has passed. Otherwise, the test has failed. Now let me explain to you how exactly this setup will be done. First, the two AI voice agents will be built using RetellAI. This will be a simple scenario, but we will test an AI voice agent that is supposed to retrieve the temperature of a city at a specific date and time. It will always be the same date and time, only the city will change. This means that during a call, the agent will have to make an API call with the right city, retrieve the temperature, and say it during the call. I prepared in advance a list of cities and their corresponding temperature, as well as other keywords, so the whole point of the testing is that we know in advance how the answer should be. And we compare the answers of the AI with the correct answers and give a score at the end. Also, since we'll be changing the city each time, it means we'll be using dynamic variables in the prompt. The first bot, the one which we'll be calling multiple times, is a single prompt bot with a Retell managed number. This is a requirement if you want to make calls with dynamic variables using RetellAI. The second agent is a custom LLM bot configuration. I chose that setup because I had to rely on custom code for a part of the algorithm. And we also need a webhook that is triggered at the end of each call to record the answer in a Google Sheet, do the comparison, and also record the test result. Now I will go through the general algorithm that I built using make.com and custom code to complete all the testing. Before we get started, I just wanted to mention that at my agency Neura First, we build all kinds of AI for businesses. For example, we helped an 8-figure US company build an advanced prototype of an AI voice bot for menu ordering. We helped a roofing business do an AI feasibility study for automatic roof measurements using satellite imagery. We also recently helped a PR and communication agency in the US to automate their posts on LinkedIn. If you want to explore how AI and automation can benefit your company to scale your revenues or improve your margins, ideally both, you can book a meeting with me through the calendar link in the description, and I will be happy to have a conversation with you. Now back to the video. So the algorithm starts like this. First, we'll have a long list of cities to test, and for each city, trigger a call with that city, and this can be done using both make.com and custom code. Then we need to record the start timestamp of that call in Google Sheets. Then during the call, record the output of the function call somewhere, for example in a file. At the end of the call, find the right row to update, and this can be done only through custom code. And then record the output from the function call in that row, compare the output with the expected output, and then update the right cell with either pass or fail. And finally, wait 50 seconds before making the next call. Since I used both make and custom code, I will show you both ways to do that. But to be honest, I would advise you to do that using custom code so that you don't consume your make.com operations. Because 1000 operations can quickly be consumed because of testing. And also make has a time restriction for the running of a scenario. It shouldn't last more than 10 minutes, otherwise it will stop running. I will show you how a conversation between the two bots is, and then we will move on to the tutorial. So yeah, let's play it.
Hello?
What was the temperature in the city of Paris on the 15th of December 2015?
Sure, please wait a few seconds while I check it. It was 49.9 degrees.
All right, thank you. I wish you a wonderful rest of the day.
You're welcome. You have a fantastic day too.
So as you can see, there was a bit of a delay between, when she asks for the temperature and then when the answer is retrieved back. So the testing of the latency was not the objective of this. The objective was really to retrieve accurate information. But of course, you can dedicate another type of test only to the latency. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is to work on this Google spreadsheet. It should have those columns, but don't worry, I will make it accessible so that you will be able to make a copy and work on it on yourself. As you can see, I prepared 50 types of inputs. Here some cities that are well known, so it should be easy for the AI voice bot to recognize the city and then to fetch the temperature and then to retrieve it. Some other cities are less known, for example Liège or Oslo or Muscat. And I prepared a much harder set of inputs where some are not cities. I mean, most of them are not cities, and one of them is a city that can be actually confused with something else. For example, here, this town of Amscrud, actually it's a town in Morocco. It's a real town. You can look it up. But, it could be misinterpreted by the AI by, I am screwed. Another funny example, that I prepared is the planet Uranus. So yeah, it could be heard by the AI as your anus, So in total, I have 50 inputs, and we want to test that. And the other columns that we have is the start timestamp. Basically, whenever we'll make the call, there will be a webhook that will record the start timestamp of that call. Because one thing that you need to know about RetellAI is that when you make a call, that call ID that you make, if another AI receives that call, actually RetellAI counts it as two calls. So you have two different call IDs and two different timestamps. That's the reason why in the algorithm that I showed you, identifying the right row to update requires custom code, basically, because we need to go over all the timestamps and compute the difference, in terms of time, and select the one with the lowest difference. I mean, the two closest calls basically. And this will be the right row to update. But I will explain to you more in details when I will show you the code. And then here, the most important column is the expected output, because here I already retrieved the right temperature that the AI is supposed to retrieve. And I did that via a temperature API provider. I will show you which one and how to register an account in this provider. And when it comes to inputs that are not cities, I just, wrote null. And this will be one of the two possible answers from the function call. Either it will output a temperature or it will output null in case the AI, identifies the input as something that is not a city, basically. Then we have the column for the agent's output. And this is the result from the function call. And here we record the test result. So if those two values are the same, here we will write pass. And if they are not the same, we'll write failed. So the first part of this tutorial will be about using Make.com to automate those tests. And the first scenario that we need is the one that will trigger the calls, one by one in a loop, so that all the cities will be tested. And for that, I actually prepared a second tab, this one that I called mini test, where I just, wrote 3 inputs, so that we'll have like a proof of concept that it's working, because you don't want to run too many operations. It will just consume your monthly Make.com operations. So yeah. Before creating the Make.com scenario, we first need to create the AI agent in RetellAI that will be making the calls basically. So you will log into your RetellAI account, then you will click on create an agent. Then it will be single prompt agent. Here you will click on start from blank. For the name of the bot, I will just call it caller tutorial. The most realistic voice that I found is one called Grace. So you just look for Grace here, then you will click on use voice. Concerning the LLM, I like to keep it as GPT-4o, it works just fine. For the prompt, I will be writing the following. Your only task is to ask what was the temperature in the city of city, and we see that here we're using a dynamic variable. On the 15th of December 2015, once you get the temperature, you should wish the person a good rest of the day and then hang up. Here is an example of a conversation. And then I wrote an example, a quick example, just to guide, the AI, how it should talk basically. For now, we are done with the agents, so just click on save. Now we need to do 2 things with this agent. First, we need to trigger a call, but we also need, to send a specific input with that call. Meaning we need each time to fill this dynamic variable city by Los Angeles, Paris, New York, and so on. And the only way to do that is to purchase a retail number and then attach that number to this agent. So if you don't have a phone number already with retail, just click here and then click on this plus button. Buy a new number. Here just choose the area code that you want and then click on save. Just know that this will increase your retail monthly fees by $2 per month. Of course, this applies as long as you have the number. If you delete it, the $2 will not apply anymore. After you buy the number, you should have those options here. So a RetellAI managed number allows you to attach a specific agent, whether it is an inbound call agent or an outbound. And here, since the AI agent that we just created is an outbound, we should, here select, so caller tutorial, but for me it is testing caller weather temperature. But those 2 AI agents have exactly the same prompt. Now the next step is to go back to Make.com and to create this scenario that will trigger the actual calls. So first we need to fetch the data from the Google Sheet. So our first module will be a Google Sheet module. It will actually be a search rows. Here you will look up for your Google Sheet and then you will click on it. For this tutorial, we'll just focus on the mini test, but if you want to do the full test, just, select the other sheets basically. Here this option should be yes, because our table contains headers. So here we're looking for all the rows that contain something. It means that here we'll look for input not equal to empty string. And what this filter means is that we're looking for all the rows where the colon input has something basically. Here we shouldn't set any limit in terms of number of rows returned, because let's say in your test there are, I don't know, 1000 rows. We don't want to set a limit unless you want the test to be only for a specific number of rows. So here in advance we know that this result will return 3 rows because we have 3 rows in our mini test tab, right? Then we need to loop through each row, and actually the result will be bundles. We need to take the information from each bundle, meaning each city, and then triggering the call using that city name. And the way to do that is through make.com aggregator and iterator. So here you will select array aggregator. Here we are focusing on the input, meaning the city column. So click on it and then click on OK. The next module will be an iterator, and here it should iterate over the array from the aggregator. So just click on array here and then click on OK. Then the next thing that we need is an HTTP call. But actually the HTTP call needs some JSON, right, to be used as the body to send basically to retail servers. That's why before that we need a JSON, and actually we need to create a JSON that will serve as the body of that HTTP module. So here you will write JSON and then you will click on create JSON. Here click on add. And then, Retell requires some specific data format to be sent. So here we'll click on add item. The name of that item will be from number. It is a text as a type, and then you should check required. Add another item here. Its name is toNumber, meaning the target number that we'll be calling. It is also a text, and then it is also required. A third property will concern, the dynamic data that we'll be sending. So here in this case, the city. And this one is actually called RetellLM dynamic variables. Its type is a collection. And here you should click on add item. And then for the name of that variable, we should write city. The reason we write city is that this is how we named our dynamic variable inside the prompt. So this corresponds to this variable that we wrote here. Now we should click on save. Here for the from number, we should just write, the number that you purchased through RetellAI. So here for the toNumber, actually this is the number that will be attached to our second bot. And for this thing to work, you should have a Twilio account, and you should have a number that is available basically that you can write here. Later on, we will attach that number to our second AI agent using RetellAI. And for the city, we should write input here because this corresponds to the city that we'll be calling. And basically this does the mapping between the dynamic variable called city and the actual value. So it means Los Angeles or Chicago and so on. Then we need the HTTP module, more specifically the make request action. The URL that we'll be using is this one. So this is how RetellAI documentation works. This is the endpoint that you use, to trigger the call. The method will be a post, and then RetellAI needs to identify who is trying to make the call, So in the header, we need to add our RetellAI API key. So the name here will be authorization, and for the value, we'll be writing bearer space, then here your API key. Then for the body type, you'll select row. For the content type, it will be a JSON because we just created a JSON. And for the request content, it will be, the JSON string that we just created previously. Now, the last thing that we need to do is to add a sleep moment because we don't want, to trigger all the calls, almost at the same time. We need to wait for, one conversation to end before triggering the next one. So here you just write sleep. You should find it here. Just select it, and I found that it takes around 40 to 45 seconds, for a conversation to end. So here I just like to write 50 seconds and then click on OK. So there you have it. This is the first part, the make scenario that will be triggering the calls. Now remember that the first thing that we wanted to do is to record the start timestamp from the bot that triggers the call. Now the way to do that is that you need to create another, make.com scenario. The first module should be a webhook, and you should copy this webhook URL and then go back to the bot that you created in RetellAI, click on webhook settings, and then paste this URL here. What it will be doing is that every time there will be an outbound call from that bot, this make.com webhook will be triggered and some data will be passed. But the most important data that will be passed is the value, of the city that is used. So after this custom webhook module, we need a Google Sheet search rows module. Here the most important part of this module is the filter. You need here to select input equals to, and you need to select the city here that is sent. And this allows us, to identify the row where to update the start timestamp, of that call. And then we click on OK. The next module is also a Google Sheet, but update a cell action. Then the cell will be C, and then the row number, that we got from this module here. And the value will be this start timestamp that you can click on here. And then you click on OK. This scenario will be able to record the timestamp in the right cell, basically. Now we need to create our second AI agent, the one that will be tested. So you go back to RetellAI, you click on Create Agent, and then here you should click on Custom LLM. Now to set up this bot, you will have to download the files from my Discord. Actually, there will be a link to a Google Drive, and you will have all those files that you can download them. These files are required to launch and to set up this custom LLM AI agent for RetellAI. The most important file here that is used to configure your AI voice agent is this file, the .env, where you have all your API keys and some other information that is needed. For all those values here that you need to set, I actually created a YouTube video dedicated, to set up your RetellAI agents. So you'll just watch it again, and it will be very easy to write all those values. But basically, you just need, to write your OpenAI API key. Here, the information to authenticate with your Twilio account. Here, your Retell API keys as well as the agent's ID. So for the agent's ID, you will just copy it here, and then you'll paste it here. So of course, you need ngrok, and you just need to write the address here. Now, the next thing that you see here is called Visual Crossing API key. And Visual Crossing is actually the temperature provider. So it allows us, to retrieve temperature for specific cities, date, and time using a specific API key. So you will go to visualcrossing.com, and then you need to create an account. Once you have created an account, you should just click on Account here, and then you should see your API key. Just copy it and then paste it here. For the Twilio number, you should just write the Twilio number, that you have in your Twilio account. It should start by +1 if it is a US or Canadian number. It shouldn't include any parentheses or spaces or dashes, just the numbers preceded by +1. For the Retell number, you should do the same. Just copy the one that you have in your Retell account and paste it here. For the spreadsheet ID, it is actually easy to retrieve. Just go back to your Google spreadsheet, and then after /d and / there will be like a code here just before /edit. You'll copy it, and this is your spreadsheet ID, and then you'll paste it here. Okay, for the sheet index, it actually refers to which tab we're trying to work on, and I mean those tabs here. So if you are working on this tab, we should write 0, and if we're working on this one, we should write 1. So let's say we start with the mini test, tab. Here we should write 1. Now let's go back to the service account file name. Actually, this tutorial requires to read and write to a Google Sheet using custom code, using Python. And to do that, you need to authenticate. And I will show you how to do that. It seems complicated, but you will see it's very easy. First, you will go to console.cloud.google.com. Here you will click on this button here, and you should create a new project. So click here, name the project whatever you want, but here I just called it a Google Sheet Tutorial Automation. And then click on Create. It should go back to that previous window, but here you should make sure that the newly created project is selected. So select it here, and then click on APIs and Services. Here, enable APIs and services, and then we'll look for Google Sheets. You will find Google Sheets API, click on it. Then here, click on enable. You should click on credentials, then create credentials. Here, select service account. For the account name, just name it whatever you want. Then click on done. The next thing that we need to do is to let this service account access our Google Sheet. So you will copy this email that you can see here. Then you will go back to your Google Sheets and click on share. And here you should write this email and then of course let it as editor and click on send. Now you should go back to your service account on Google Cloud and then click on keys here. We will be creating a new key. And then you should let it as JSON and then click on create. Okay, so you see that this has downloaded a JSON file. This JSON file should look like this. You should actually copy this file, so this .json file, and then paste it in the folder where you have your other files. So you can see that this is what I have done. I actually just pasted that file. You can see that it will have like a weird name. Just copy that name and then paste it here. Now the next two steps that we need is to launch the ngrok server, so that we'll be hosting the server in our local host, and then we'll be updating some webhook URLs in RetellAI, and then everything will be working. I actually have the instructions here that I wrote so that it will be easy for you. The first thing is that in a command line or terminal you should write this command, ngrok http 8080. After you do that, this should appear. Then once you have this ngrok address, you should copy it and then paste it here in your ngrok IP address. And then we should also be using this ngrok address in your RetellAI agent. Here you should paste that address, but instead of HTTPS, we'll be writing WSS. And here we should be writing /LLM-WebSocket. We also need to update the webhook because we will be doing some post-processing, meaning after the call we have to, do parts of the algorithm that I showed you earlier. So here we'll paste that same URL, but then at the end we'll be writing /webhook. Then the final step should be to open the terminal where you have all your files, and then to write this command, uvcorn server app reload port equal 8080. And I actually wrote this command here. If everything is working well, you should see here register phone agent, some bunch of information, and then here started server process, and then application startup complete. Last detail I actually forgot to tell you is that for this scenario here that you see, it should be set as active, meaning that you should push this button here. Now if you have done everything as I said exactly as it is, and you push this button, run, it should be making 3 calls related to the 3 cities. And something like this should appear in your Google Sheet. We should have here the start timestamp, the agent output, and since those 2 values are the same, it should be written pass here. Of course, if some of those steps seem complicated, you're always welcome, to go in my Discord server and ask for help. I will be available each Friday around 1 p.m. Eastern time, so that you can hop in and ask me questions about anything that you want, technically speaking. Now, as I said, automated testing can be quite expensive, in terms of Make.com, but also in terms of cost. Actually, those tests cost me around $9, to run. And it was only 50 runs. So you can imagine, like, if we're trying to run 1000 scenarios, it will cost a lot, right? So now I will show you how to make those automated tests without relying on Make.com. You should go back to the bot that is supposed to call and then click on webhook settings. And here for the webhook URL, instead there was a Make.com webhook, but here you will paste your ngrok URL, and here you should write /record timestamp. And then since you want to do the test on all the cities, here you should replace 1 by 0. And then to replace the Make.com scenario that makes the calls, via a loop, I wrote the corresponding custom code in this file, make call retell.py, and specifically it is this test loop. And here I actually added the option that you can start the test from any city that you want. So let's say you want to start from the very first city, you will just write Los Angeles since it is our first city in the list. But if you want to start from something else, just wrote that input and then it will start from there. And to start the actual calls, you need to uncomment this line, meaning you need to get rid of this hash sign, and then you need to click on run here. All the code needed, to write this took me some time, to make it right. But if you want to know the details, just go on Discord and I will be happy, to tell you about how I did to write this. And there you have it. This is a tutorial on how to automate the tests of your RetellAI voice agents. Now, as promised, this is the result of my test. It shows an 84% accuracy of the AI voice agents. The way I computed this accuracy is by using this function here in Google Sheets called COUNTIF. So basically we're just counting the number of times we have the password, in this range, and then we divide that number by 50. Some interesting example where it failed is, for example, for this town called Tataouine, which is a Tunisian town, a real town. The AI probably confused that for the city of Tatooine in Star Wars. And as expected, we also have this error concerning the town of Amskrud, and I actually listened to the audio and the AI thought it was about the city of Amsterdam. Another interesting fail, is about the Eiffel Tower. So probably the AI thought it was about the city of Paris. So one way to tackle this issue is to go back to the prompt. We could, for example, add that if the person mentions an iconic place or a country, do not confuse that for a city. We are just looking for a city, This will be like a practical way to make the bot more accurate, basically. Now, if AI voice bots will benefit your business and you want a highly accurate and reliable AI agent, you can book a call with me through the calendar link in the description, and I will gladly have a chat with you about that. Cheers, guys.